Well, good morning and welcome in to the Real Monica Adams Show. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. I'm your host, Monica Adams, and we are kicking off a gorgeous week, albeit a little chilly this morning. In fact, for some of you in the rural areas, I heard that you were in the 40s this morning. In our area, it was 52 when I left the house, 54 driving in. So, yes, a little chilly. I think it's in the 30s here at our studio, though. We always talk about how cold in here it is here in the studio. My hands are freezing. So, definitely a hot tea or a hot coffee kind of day, or something with pumpkin spice, because after all, we are into fall, and I know a lot of you love your pumpkin spice everything once we get into fall. We're going to recap our huge celebration that we had Friday night coming up in just a bit. We've got a little bit of news you can use, some entertainment news, a little sports news for you as well. And then today, one of my favorite shows that we've done over the last year and a half had to do with that whole debate between Eastern versus Western culture medicine. So the doctor we have in today is Dr. Erin Shannon. She is Mike Shannon's daughter. I've interviewed her over the years, back when I was at Channel 2, when I was at Channel 5. She is truly incredible in her industry, but we'll talk more about that allopathic medicine. She has a deep background in psychology, and she has treated everyone, including so many different athletes. We're going to talk today about her background, how it can help you when you think of Western medicine versus Eastern medicine. I'd love for you to weigh in and let us know how it has helped you in any form with whatever you've been suffering with. And she's going to go really deep into an MRI that I recently had and how she would treat that. So any of you that may be having migraines, concussion symptoms, cervical spine issues, back issues, hip issues, shoulder, neck, it doesn't matter. It is when that happens, who do you go to right away and how is it treated? It'll be interesting to see how Dr. Shannon attacks what's going on with my neck after an accident a few years ago. We'll talk with her coming up in about the next 15 minutes. Let's kick things off, though, with our What the Weather segment.
Alrighty, welcome back into this new more weather forecast video. This one has been looking significant for a couple of days.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Monica.
Finally.
Nice to be here.
So that was the first time we met. The second time we met in person was Friday night. Can you believe that? The 10 months that Beckett's been working with us, I've only met him in person on 2 occasions. And this past Friday was a fun one. First of all, good morning, Beckett.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Did you have fun Friday?
Yes, I had a great time. It was awesome.
It was such a good time, and it was so awesome to finally meet your entire family, including, almost your entire family, including his twin, who my mom was like, oh, she was so adorable. But I'm so glad that your mom and your dad and your sister were out there. Glad you had a great time. We'll recap our 400th celebration coming up in just a bit. Besides that, did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was great. Of course, we had the 400th show on Friday, and then on Saturday decorated for Halloween, and then yesterday afternoon we had the DeSmet father-son golf tournament. So pretty fun weekend.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, Halloween right around the corner. We got some fall look with our studio today. Thank you, Michelle, for setting that up for us. We'll be getting ready for Halloween as well. It's starting to feel like that, Beckett. So much cooler right now. As we get into the forecast, we're talking about yet another hurricane, Hurricane Milton, and I just cannot believe what Florida is going through.
I know, it's pretty incredible what they've had to go through, and it looks like it's going to be pretty significant in the Tampa area along the Gulf Coast of Florida. But the current conditions right now in St. Louis, 53 degrees and sunny skies here downtown, and you can see the sun just reflecting off all those buildings. Pretty spectacular out there this morning, but it is pretty cold, so make sure to maybe grab a jacket or a sweater as you head out the door. Now, our bus stop forecast, again, 53 and sunny this morning. As we head into this afternoon, 72 as our high, around average for this time of the year, so pretty cool. And those sunny skies. Unfortunately, we aren't going to keep this trend as we head into the late week, as we can see with the 7-day forecast, as we head into the late week, That's when temperatures do start to rise. But again, 72 is our high today, low 48 tonight. Tomorrow, warming up to a little bit to around 74 with those sunny skies and all sun in the forecast. No rain. So again, we're going to probably have those drought conditions, unfortunately, come back into the areas. But you can see we really do warm up 80, 81, 82 for Wednesday through Friday. And then that's not stopping as we head into this next week, and likely not going to get that cool air to come back in as we go into late next week. That's when we're going to get our first shot of that cool air. But Hurricane Milton is on the way for Florida, and I don't like to say this, but it does look like it's setting up to be a pretty significant disaster there along the Gulf Coast of Florida. Major hurricane expected here on Wednesday.
It's crazy, obviously, because they're still talking about finding people from Hurricane Helene. So, again, getting hit like crazy. Can I ask this, though? A lot of people wanted me to ask you if we are expecting to have a pretty next few weeks as far as the leaves turning color, or because we're not getting rain, would that affect that?
Actually, the rain doesn't really help with fall foliage. It does help a little bit. You don't want to be in drought conditions. But what's the best for fall foliage is with the sunshine and the lower temperature. So overall, probably not going to be the best year for fall foliage, but I don't expect it to be terrible, around average for Missouri.
All right, Beckett, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day at school, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
All right, sounds good.
All right, that is our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore, and I'm so glad that so many of you were able to meet him, hopefully on Friday. We'll recap Friday coming up in just a second. Let's stay with the latest hurricane for just a second before we get into some news about what happened 1 year ago today. So we just mentioned Hurricane Helene, and that in the last couple of weeks, they are still picking up in the aftermath of that, as well as still trying to find if there are more that are alive, as there are still so many that we're missing. Hurricane Milton, though, rapidly intensifying into a Category 1 hurricane yesterday, with its path aimed at Florida, expected to make landfall on the state's west coast on Wednesday, expected to reach major hurricane status as a Category 3 or 4 storm before weakening back to 3 at landfall, bringing damaging winds and storm surge to the Florida peninsula. Residents along the west coast of Florida, they're urged to prepare for potential evacuations and impacts. Some of those voluntary, some of those mandatory, and they're saying since 2017 we haven't seen this kind of an evacuation. Voluntary mandatory evacuations likely to be issued in several communities. At 7:09, I mentioned this is a very significant day for what happened 1 year ago. I cannot believe that the war between Israel and Hamas is now a year into effect. When that first devastation came across, it was a festival where over 1,000 lives were lost, many of those our younger generation. A year after that fateful attack on southern Israel, the Middle East is embroiled still in a war that shows no signs of ending and seems to be getting worse day in and day out. The conflict has escalated to involve multiple fronts, including Lebanon, with Israel targeting Hezbollah and facing criticism for civilian casualties. Efforts to reach ceasefires and diplomatic solutions have been unsuccessful, leading to ongoing military operations and humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And since it happened 1 year ago, over 41,000 lives have been lost. Well, last night on the big stage, it was the American Music Awards, and St. Louis was featured prominently thanks to our own Nelly. Did you see that? Did you get a chance to see any of the AMAs? A lot of people talking about Mariah Carey's performance today. Also, Gladys Knight returning to the stage. She was on 50 years ago with her first performance, and she tore it up with Midnight Train to Georgia. Mariah Carey, Gladys Knight, Jennifer Hudson paying homage to the late Whitney Houston. So if you didn't get a chance to see the American Music Awards, those were the big takeaways. But I love the fact that St. Louis was featured so prominently. Oh, you just got to love all these wonderful artists in the R&B and the more Motown-esque realm, and then moving into our modern music now. So yeah, if you didn't get a chance to see it, I would highly recommend, since we can't play music here on our show, otherwise we have a copyright strike and we'll be taken down. I would tell you to look those up. Really, I would say the focus would be Jennifer Hudson's performance, as well as Gladys Knight, Mariah Carey, and then I'd love for you from a St. Louis side to look up Nelly. All right, as we move on, we are also talking about a trending story. If you are a donut fan, look at this. This is what you're going to get a chance to get from Krispy Kreme. They are paying homage to Ghostbusters. Something strange and sweet coming to your neighborhood. Krispy Kreme Ghostbusters themed donuts for the arrival of the Halloween season and the 40th anniversary of the theatrical debut of Ghostbusters. Krispy Kreme has cooked up the Ghostbusters collection of 4 donuts paying homage to the original film starring Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, available beginning today for a limited time at participating shops. The donuts get inspiration from the comedy classic, which, can you believe it, first hit theaters in June of 1984. I cannot believe that movie came out that many years ago. And in sports news, did you see the Mizzou game? I think I want to forget the Mizzou game. It is their first loss of the season, so they are 4-1 now. But the Missouri Tigers have slipped in the AP poll to 21. They're still at least ranked. I mean, that's the positive you have to look at. But they lost big time to Texas A&M. All right, it is 7:12. That's it for our news you can use. I do want to let you know here locally that we'll continue to wrap up anything that I hear with regards to serious stories that have to do with St. Louis, but we're trying to get more and more into a national, so as we bring more people from other states and other countries, that we're all talking about what the whole world is talking about. I do want to let our local people know, though, that there's a big project affecting the bridges as you go into Illinois or over, and that will be all over the boards when you're driving in our area, where it talks about it starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow. IDOT putting that all over the signs. So just a heads up, if you travel to downtown bridges, you might want to start thinking of using an alternate. Our 5570 drivers might want to use 255 or 270. That's just a little note, a little nugget that you need here locally. All right, were you there Friday? Did you miss out? Did you watch online? It was a massive celebration. Our 400th show on Friday. And thank you to Tia for putting this wonderful video together, Michelle being my Vanna, showing off our Monica merchandise. And thank you, more importantly, to Tiffany and Larry Winkler for hosting our show at Circle 6 Watering Hole and Meat Market. Those girls right there, they were hanging on the Katy Trail and came over and sat down and said, we are big fans of The Real Monica Adams Show. Ruby Lee, of course, performing for us. Those girls, by the way, donated $250 to Responder Rescue. Just gave money to us right away. So there's $250 before we ever started to count what we raised from all of you buying your tickets. Well, all total, we raised, with the $250 and the $960 from the ticket sales, we are over $1,000 that we were able to raise that night for Responder Rescue. So congratulations. Thank you to each and every one of you for purchasing tickets in advance. The 10 of you that just came and paid cash buying your tickets that day. So we had 64 tickets that were sold. And of course, Tiffany and Larry donating and giving other things away to Ruby, as well as our staff working hard. The steaks, I heard everybody say, were amazing. So if you haven't been, or if that was your first time, please go back and remember to support those that support us. If you'd like to have a mobile Monica at your business, because a lot of eyes are on those shows, just reach out to me at info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. And right around the corner will be our 500th show. It usually takes about 5 months, so I'm thinking sometime in March. Start talking about it. And for all of you that are watching, start sharing, liking, following our multiple platforms. And if you've got an idea of where 500, because that's a big one, where 500 should be in March, start letting me know and we'll reach out to them. All right, it is 7:15. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm guessing my guest is here. I haven't been told yet, but I'm hoping. Dr. Erin Shannon, she was stuck in not an accident. There was a stall in front of her, so she had to reroute herself. So Dr. Erin Shannon, you may have seen her on the news over the years, or maybe you've seen an interview with her or a podcast. She's been a guest on a lot of shows. She's going to be our guest, Dr. Erin Shannon, in the blue chair when we return.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous My Pillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
Welcome back. It is 7:18, and as always, I like to be as real can be. So if you, there we go. If you hear us coming back and we're talking, or you see things move in front of the camera, that's life, right? So that is the thing about being real and being authentic. One of the things when we started this show about a year and a half ago was to not be so poised, to not be so perfect. We actually have a really great show that we did that had to do with the fight for perfectionism and how dangerous it can be. I'll talk to my guest about that. She's probably seen that in her career. Let me give you back on this wonderful woman who I've had a chance to interview when I was at Channel 2, when I was at Channel 5. Dr. Erin Shannon is a doctor of clinical psychology and an energy, this is what I love about her, energy medicine practitioner, 30 degrees and certifications in integrated alternative medicine techniques for deep healing. She specializes in sports psychology for professional sports organizations, athletes, and their families. Okay, but she continues to go. Summa cum laude, graduate of both Loyola Marymount University and Pepperdine University, specializing in both traditional psychotherapy as well as cutting-edge mind-body techniques and energy medicine. She offers multiple techniques to optimize performance, resolve chronic pain, speed injury recovery, resolve relational discord, unwanted habits and patterns, medical-related stress, sleep issues, insomnia, negative thought patterns, life transitions and imbalances, and she's very goal-oriented. I could go on and on and on. Her tie to Washington University, etc. All right, let me just bring her on. Dr. Erin Shannon, great to see you again.
Great to see you too.
I mean, my goodness, woman, just, underachiever.
Yeah. We were talking about being perfect a minute ago, right?
Yes, right.
Well, I'm definitely not, but
nobody is though, right?
No.
And that, I'm sure, with all the athletes that you have worked with and celebrities and just everyday people here in our area and beyond, how often, let's just go ahead and start with that. How often have you seen that striving for perfection in psychotherapy and dealing with psychology? That is the biggest thing of saying, we're not perfect, you're never going to be. So now let's get that off the table. What do you deal with in perfectionism?
Well, I see, people from all walks of life. So I've got people that are very, very high achievers. Some people literally the best in the entire world at something. And when you're the best in the world ever in human history, you look at perfectionism every day, but it is never your friend, right? Because perfectionism is the downfall of anyone's career. And it is something that I think when you said, look, we're real, we're honest, I think real and honest and perfectionism are right next to each other. And I think the more that we can spread awareness of, if something looks perfect, that's not real life.
Amen.
And so the more we can kind of break down those barriers, the more we can allow the normalcy of being real.
Well, and think about what social media has done, right? I like to talk about the positives of social media. I mean, I live much more of a life of positivity. That's why I left the news. I wanted to bring more of that to the world, right? But it's also the fact that social media paints this picture. When we look back decades, it was magazines. And look at the women on magazines. And right, you have these young girls striving to want to be that. And it's not real. It was the filters like crazy. Now you have it 10 times that on social media. What has that done to the psyche of what you've worked with your patients?
Oh, I think that, we have a whole different understanding now at this point of how things like social media and having your iPhone in your pocket 24/7 on, bedside table, it literally has created generation of children who are now, teenagers, that it has reshaped the way that our brains work. It has impacted us on an evolutionary level, because when we have that little thing in our pocket walking around with us 24/7, we don't have a safe space anymore.
Yeah.
You think about when you were a kid. When we were kids, you go to school, you had to keep your perfectionism, I'm cool, safe, face on. When you got home, you didn't have to worry about that anymore. Hopefully,
Right.
You could let it down. There's no place to hide with social media. So the kids are looking at their phone, and any second someone could post something embarrassing about them or something that they need to respond to. So their levels of fight or flight are constantly there because they feel like they're constantly on.
Right.
And it really can cause a sense of, well, what am I really? Am I this acting that I'm doing?
Yeah.
Am I this? And then you get kids that, okay, I don't know what I am, so let me look at social media and see what other people like me are. Again, not real, right?
Yep.
Very curated, and that's the popular culture.
Well, and what has it done to our culture? Let me introduce my guest again, Dr. Erin Shannon. We just went full on because this is what we do.
Yep.
Because this is the way she attacks life. It's the way I attack life, that we just want to get to healing right away. That's what you've been doing for so long. But continuing in this, and feel free, by the way, to drop a comment in or a question in about this. Weigh in on what you're feeling about what's happening in the world. I'm so afraid of what we're going to see statistically in, and I'm just going to go there, suicide rates, right? Younger and younger and younger, Dr. Shannon, because that's what we're seeing. We used to talk about it a lot in the psyche of what people were going through, the stress that they put on themselves, the I'm not good enough. Dr. Lehman and I, who, this is how we brought this up, by the way. Dr. Lehman and I are great friends. We have that mutual friend together. He and I have talked about this and how he and I want us to, maybe we bring you on, take the stage to address the, let's say, the highest level. You just mentioned these sports athletes. Let's think of Simone Biles, the GOAT, right? Well, when she can't perform anymore, when she decides to retire, that was her identity. So Dr. Lehman and I both are in agreement of what happens when that athlete that's the top of their game suddenly has to step away. But we then transfer it to everyday life. What about the person who's the CEO or is the president or is the principal or whatever it is that's the top? And then suddenly that layer comes off. We talk about first responders taking off the police uniform, military firefighters. What do you see in your industry when it's that type of thing that suddenly they are lost and wondering, or you talk about kids that are in grade school, switch to high school, they go from 8th grade, they're at the top. It's always this, they're trying to catch up.
I think it's the real basic concept of you're a human being, not a human doing, right? And so what you do isn't who you are. But we were not raised to believe in that. We were raised to believe, look at me, I'm a doctor, I have a coat on, right? That's what my coat says. Then what happens when I go home? I'm a mom.
Yes.
Okay, so, put my mom coat on, that looks very different. I've always thought of, I have a base me, right? I'm always me in there. I might adjust my language, my voice, my routine based on what that me is doing to fit into the environment.
Yeah.
But I'm still me.
Absolutely.
And I think we have an issue when we are looking at, okay, this is the role that a CEO should play. This is what a point guard looks like. This is what a pro does in the NBA. Okay, that's what you think they do, right? That's what the archetype is of what they do. But how do you do that?
Right.
Because you have to be you in all the roles.
Yes.
So is there consistency in the roles? You know, it's very difficult when you've got a role such as your, career that really can't be similar to other things in life.
Yeah.
Professional athletes that do, team sports that are aggressive, football, sometimes hockey, military, right? Those are people that in their job to function well and survive, they have to be a certain way. Now we want them to shift that mindset. So I want you to go on that field, or I want you to go into battle, and I want you to be able to do extraordinarily aggressive things at the drop of a hat and not think, just react. Now, game's over. I would like you to do interviews with a whole bunch of people in the locker room.
This close to your face.
Right. And not kill anyone.
Yeah.
Please don't strike the people.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Kill people. Don't kill people.
Right.
Go home. Love your kid.
Well, again, Dr. Shannon is my guest. So I, as the wife of an officer, saw firsthand back during Ferguson all of the hate that was spewed against our officers. And as you just mentioned, right here in their shields, right up against them, saying the most horrific things to them about killing their wives. And I'm not even going to tell you what else was said. Urine bottles thrown at them, rocks thrown at them. And they are taught and trained, you can't move. But let's switch that to the general public. And if that was done to you, even something derogatory said to you, that right away it's that fight mentality of I'm going to punch you, right? They can't. They hands down everything and just let it happen until they're, of course, hit. Then that person's arrested. But all of those things that they run through, and we think that they are going to be okay. Exactly.
It's ridiculous, right?
Amen.
And when you look at, I like to look at things from the basic level of neuroscience, right? Look at the brain. So there's an area of the brain called the amygdala, and that sucker's pretty online from the time we take our first breath, right? Because it's the fight or flight. So the amygdala is like the fire alarm, right? And when that starts going off, think about what a fire alarm, when there's a fire alarm, you can't really think about anything else but the fire alarm. And that's the point of the fire alarm. It wants you to get up and get out, right? The amygdala is the thing that's online that is telling the police officers, the military, the defensive end, what I need to do and focus on first or only in order to survive this minute. Now, this second. That thing doesn't get shut on and off like a switch, right? And so we're walking, especially when you've got a position where you have to hold a lot of that in. Because if you think of it as energy, where does it go?
Right.
Then we see disorders like adrenal fatigue and all of these burnout syndromes because people are operating, their cortisol is getting dumped into their body. So they're like this, but they can't act on it. So what happens? They go home. How's that for your spouse?
Right.
That's fun, right? I mean,
it's fun. Yeah.
I always tell players if they're coming, from a football game, drive separate from your family. And if you need to take 15 laps around the city, take the 15 laps.
She's right, by the way, Dr. Erin Shannon again, because Jim will say to me on a regular basis, I need downtime. When I say, why do you have to turn the TV on as soon as you walk in the door? That's just white noise to them. For me, it's like, well, I don't need the TV on, but let's just have music. He's like, it's different. I'm not actually even paying attention to it. No. It is just a coping mechanism. What I'm always fearing for anyone in any of these roles, and you have to see yourself in this story. So as you say, that's me. I don't know how to cope. I'm taking it out on my family. I'm taking it out on my friends. It's the cyclical thing that I wake up the next morning, I do it over and over and over again because there is no outlet, right? And then that's where we see addictions, divorce rates. I just mentioned suicide. We're trying to heal all of that. We're going to take a break. When we return, Dr. Erin Shannon, again, we're going to talk about a lot of things, including the energy side. I'm so in love with the fact that that's a big part of her practice. You see the title today talking about Eastern versus Western. We did this in 6+ months ago, one of the biggest shows we've ever done, and people were so drawn to it.
Oh, good.
Yes, that there should be a marriage between the two, but too many people think, well, something's wrong with me. I'm going to go to the doctor and I have to take a pill. And then it's a pill after a pill after a pill, attacking the next thing and the next thing. The Eastern side, the energy side, and I want you and I to talk about how we are going to attack the MRI that just came out that Dr. Lehman showed me. Wasn't the best news in his eyes, and he's like, "What happened from your side by side?" I was like, "I don't know." We'll talk about all that. If you have any any questions for my guests, please let us know. Drop it in the comments right now, and we'll take a look at that. Dr. Erin Shannon and myself when we return.
Monica's show. It's very informational, but more importantly, inspirational.
People such as myself and others can come out and talk about real issues that are taking place in our communities.
These are amazing, really, really important topics that don't get discussed enough.
It really just promotes people who are making change and doing good in their lives.
Oh, you got to walk into this building because so much awaits you. 425 North New Ballis. As you walk into this suite and you see the beauty of Elemental Aesthetics. It is Suite 206. Jennifer Warman-Bloss will be back on with us, by the way, this coming Wednesday. So many levels of what you would want to go through. If you just want to go and get a facial and relax, wonderful. She's got a lot of different things that she uses to treat the skin, but really the entire body. Jennifer's been an esthetician since 2001, and she said one of the things that she knew when she started Elemental Aesthetics is that she wanted to be at the top of her game. So she really credits all of her education in making sure that she has the next best thing, but not just this or that, hey, let's try this. No, this is going to change your life. I also mentioned that they even do nails there, which I cannot wait to go and get my nails done. And then that room I love. I can't wait to see what Dr. Shannon thinks about salt therapy. Yes, that room looks beautiful, but it's also what they pipe in that helps people with eczema, rosacea, red light therapy. There's Jennifer. Red light therapy, but also you could turn it to blue, purple, all those things. So I know that for those of you that are open-minded to what we would consider more holistic or homeopathic, that you are very much into being your own health advocate. There's even a bed there. I'm interested to see what Dr. Shannon says about this bed that helps people with ADD and ADHD and the music side. That's the IV hydration therapy. I'm going on. You just need to book it for yourself or someone else. Get a gift card maybe for someone coming up for Christmas. Elemental Aesthetics, Suite 206, 425 North New Ballis in Creve Coeur. You can go online and find out more about them as well. ElementalAesthetics.com or call 314-279-6069. All right, welcome back. It's 7:34. I'm your host, Monica Adams, the show, The Real Monica Adams, and we are visiting with Dr. Erin Shannon. When we went into the break, I mentioned more of that Eastern versus Western mentality. So I mentioned, Dr. Shannon, that was a huge show for us several months ago, and this is just kind of a continuing series that I love to do. When you have patients come in, how do you address the breaking the mindset of only Western medicine?
Well, I've been really pleasantly surprised because I'll admit I'm a product of,
Western.
Right. And so when I was going through school and being trained, I was very drawn to things like an MRI where you can show someone what it is and you don't have to talk about fuzzy, things that we don't understand, soft kind of science, right? And life is funny. And it has a way of throwing you a curveball. So then I go from that to you're out in the real world and you're watching life happen and you're seeing that, it's sometimes Western medicine doesn't have the answer to everything. And sometimes the answer is a Band-Aid that really, makes you, okay, are you alive? Yeah, I'm alive. But are you happy? No.
Are you thriving?
No, right? I mean, so, the fact that I am at this point in my career where I'm doing a blend of both and I'm, almost, I would say that I'm much more doing the Eastern medicine because I think people are seeking it out. And I think that COVID, there was a lot of horrible things, but there were also a few good things. And I think that people realize that maybe Western medicine doesn't have all the answers. Maybe we need to kind of break down that God complex we have about it and begin to take accountability for our own health and look at other ways that we can deal with things.
Yep. It's interesting. You mentioned COVID, and I'm going to go back to our mutual colleague, Dr. Lehman. He and I, many, many years ago, started a collaboration together where I send my clients to him. He sends his patients to me right after they go through a few physical therapy sessions, and then he sends them over to me. Well, we started talking in the very beginning of the pandemic about things that he was using with his athletes, things that he was seeing. We were talking about colloidal silver. We were talking about ivermectin. I did stories on that and was lambasted for doing so. Literally had only one doctor and only one nurse that called into the station. I immediately had to do a retraction. It frustrated the heck out of me because I'm being real now. But that's what happened. Now what happens here 4 years later, and we're hearing about it nonstop. Again, you can weigh in, and I welcome that. If you say, oh, no, I can't believe that you would even say that, to use that. They're like, you have to talk to an infectious disease doctor. I'm like, that's what we're all doing. But how about we look at the other side of the coin? Right?
So I really look at things like this, and I try to just break it down into, is it fear? Are you acting out of fear, right? Or are you acting out of openness? Are you closed or are you open?
Yes.
How did Western medicine evolve? How did we get to where we are? What are medicine, it's not like all of a sudden one day we went from putting leeches in, a wound to antibiotics, right?
Thank you.
There had to be, we stumble into most discoveries. We accidentally talk about that anti-perfectionism. We practice medicine. It's a practice. Why? Because we'll never get it right. Because how dare we think that we understand the totality of any aspect of the human body or mind?
I think one of the powerful things that happened on this show last year was, you all remember Dr. Charles Willie that was on? So he is a true traditional medicine doctor, and finally got him to break away and say, okay, I will say this particular drug we're using literally came from this plant. And I said, then there it is. There's the ding, ding, aha, chilling moment of, yes, that came from more of that eastern side. We go into other countries, and I think if they came into our world, our U.S., they would say, you're the laughing stock, right?
Right.
So, but is there a need? Absolutely, positively a need for Western. That is literally the foundation and the background of Dr. Shannon. But then she opened up. So how much of your practice would you say is in energy work and is in more of that Eastern side? What percentage?
It's extremely difficult for me to even pull the two apart. And I'm glad, because I think that now Western medicine, it's almost like a vernacular issue. Like, you call it this, we call it this. So in the East, they call it something. In the West, we're talking about the same thing. Right. So it's how are we getting the languages to connect? And when we look at things like frequency, right, and energy, those things mean they bring up a lot of thoughts in different people's mind. But medicine and the tools and the technologies that we have now in medicine are able to look at things like frequencies, light, sound. Everything is vibration. Everything.
So you just saw me and you were smiling when I was talking about elemental aesthetics. And so what are your thoughts on red light therapy, blue, purple, all that? What are you seeing is beneficial in that?
Well, what are medical doctors' thoughts about lasers, right? I mean, we're doing gamma knives. We're doing nanoparticle medicine. It's all the same thing. I love Western medicine. I'm not one person. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. I'm a person that what I want to do, and that's why I have so many degrees. Like, it's stupid how many, it's
no, I love it.
Enough.
You're like, what? Wait. Can I chase another one?
Right. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let me go do that for 10 years. my dad would always be like, how many more graduations do I need to go?
Which hopefully you all know. She is Mike Shannon's daughter. I mean, I love that man. He was with us all the time on Fox 2.
He's something else. He was something else.
Yes, he was. There we go. Right? Oh, come on.
Aw.
Just the best of the best. We have so many great memories. Truly. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. He still got his hair thinned when he was in his 70s. Native
Really?
American, yeah. We had thick hair.
Just come on. What he provided for St. Louis, can just remember just what an amazing
But talk about
human being.
Talk about real also.
Absolutely.
And he's someone that definitely raised. I'm the youngest of the 6.
Mm-hmm.
He raised us to know that people can tell when you're inauthentic.
Absolutely.
And no one likes to feel like they're not connecting to someone.
Right.
And if you're too focused on your image or, you can't connect to me.
Right.
We can't communicate because you're too internal.
Yep.
Right.
And we're seeing, unfortunately, Dr. Shannon, we're seeing more and more of it, aren't we? Yeah. You see that narcissistic mentality, you see the entitlement mentality, trying to break all of that. We're trying to get this world to heal more, and that's really one of the reasons why this show started of, all right, what do you want us to discuss? What can we talk about here? If you have any questions, Michelle, am I missing anything? Okay, good. If you have any questions or comments for Dr. Shannon, let me know. But as you have had something that you've gone to the doctor for, have you been frustrated? Have you gone to something more like this? And you want to drop in a comment of, hey, this is how it changed for me. I want to address what is literally happening right now. And this is how she and I are starting our connection. Well, we've been connected in the past for media, but starting our connection from a healing path. So Dr. Lehman reached out to her and said, all right, I want you and Monica to work together on this. So I was in an accident, as many of you know, 3 years ago. It'll almost be 3 years next month. And still concussion symptoms, still looking at x-rays, just had an MRI, and this is from, I believe, 9 months ago. Did you see the side-by-side comparison?
So I'll tell you, I did not look at anything because I didn't want to look at anything because I thought if we did any kind of energy work, or if we did anything, this is how I usually like to see my clients the first time I see them. I don't want to have any kind of preconceived notion because I know that my preconceived notions interact with your energy and I don't want to miss something. And then once I see the person and get my assessment from a blank slate, then I research the heck out of everything. But
because the other way.
That's right. Because if I'm going to listen to what everybody else says first, I'm going to come in already looking and scanning for this disorder, and I'm going to miss something that maybe everybody, by the time they come to me, they've gone to everyone, right? They've gotten the Western medicine, the specialist, the neck specialist, the surgeon, But the problem is, sometimes we don't see the forest through the trees, and that's what I'm looking for.
Right, and that is exactly it. But there's also, Dr. Shannon, don't you also see that people get to a point where they just give up because they've been told by so many physicians, nurses, again, specialists that they've been to that, nope, nothing's wrong with you. And you're like, something is. And this is where that shifting pattern in my eyes has to happen, because then you go to someone like Dr. Shannon and she's like, oh no, there is absolutely something wrong. And you have that, thank you.
Well, look, if you think something's wrong,
there's something wrong.
There's something wrong. Because I always tell people, when you look at suicides, right? Warning signs. What are warning signs of anything? Well, something's different.
Yes.
What's different? Either something's there that wasn't there before, or something's not there that used to be there.
Right.
So if you wake up in the morning, you stub your toe when you get out of bed, and you're like, great, today's gonna just be awful, right? And you have that feeling, what's gonna happen to your day? Oh, it's gonna be awful.
Because you set that in your mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
It's there. You can't not do it. But the good news is that's exactly how you can flip your day around instantly. I somehow got the kind of reputation that I was the, they call it the worst to first person. So if your team is just at the bottom of their league, doing terrible, I tend to somehow get the call. We're awful. Great. So what happens? I come in, and this is what I do. How do you get a group of people to flip from we're the worst, season's over, I've got the yips, I can't throw to how can you, that's the best place in my mind to be, because you are open to something, right? This is not working, right? And so you can use the same things that tended to get you into that dark place to jump back out of it.
Yeah.
You can just take
Back
that
to Bears.
energy. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Getting
Or the
the-
St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
Or the St. Louis Cardinals. The biggest comebacks
Yes.
in the history of sports. We have seen these, and we love those stories.
Well,
right?
if you go to Dr. Shannon's website, yeah, I mean, come on. Of course, we go from everybody giving up to then cheering, going, "Oh my gosh, look how they turned this season around." Everyone's already talking, Dr. Shannon, about the game with Mizzou on Saturday. I'm like, really? They had this great start. They were 4-0, and then they play with Texas A&M, and yes, it wasn't the best game, and they slipped in the AP poll. They're 21 now. But you're already giving up on them? I mean, that's how quick people turn on you.
Well, and that's why it's extremely important for anybody that is getting, and now we've got so many experts, right? Podcast experts and fantasy football. Okay. Right. You can tell I was raised by Mike Shannon.
I love
Fantasy
that.
football.
Exactly.
We've got so
That's a
many
fantasy world they're living in.
Oh yeah.
Come on, back
Virtual
into our world.
reality.
Exactly.
But everybody can be an expert.
Or
Everybody, right? They
Right.
can put it out there. And so when the higher up you get in anything, the more people are going to have an opinion about you, and it's going to be extreme. And 99% of the time, they don't know you.
Yeah.
Right? If they don't know your phone number or your middle name, then why do you care what they're saying? But in the business of the game, we have to care, right? Because that's tickets.
If you go onto Dr. Shannon's website, you'll see all of these incredible pictures. You'll see her right there on the sidelines. That intimacy of talking and getting them off the ledge, right? Talking to the athletes and getting them to shift around. Of course, we love Fred Bird.
Lord.
But there are so many. There we go. Hulk Hogan and Timmy Zell, dear friend of mine from the Fox 2 days. And this is when we used to have her in all the time. How did your collaboration with Fox first start?
I was trying to think of that the other day. I don't even know.
No?
I don't really. St. Louis is such a small little town.
Yes.
I think I was probably called in to talk about something, and
it stuck.
Yeah,
It was a
Tim
great
was
collaboration.
so much fun. He's just so fun.
Well, you know what? And let's talk about Tim.
Yeah.
Tim's been trying to come on the show for a long
that'd
time
be
now.
great.
Well, the thing is, he is so maxed out in working in the morning, then his show at 9, then filling in at noon, all the while going through his diagnosis, which, have you heard? So he has Parkinson's. He also had back surgeries. I mean, there's so much that he's gone through, and I'm not telling from a HIPAA standpoint. He's released that to the public. I would love to have him on to talk, but I'm
definitely
worried
should.
about him.
Well, we need to get him into the
Let's do the-
technology that we want to talk
I
into.
know.
We
So-
definitely do.
So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Bimini.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce
Yeah.
it? Okay, like a Bimini top. But what is it going to do for this and the stuff that I'm going through? I do actually have, I believe that I sent that along to Zach, of what Dr. Lehman sent to me of what was concerning to him about the MRI. If you don't want to see it, then don't look at the screen because I'm going to show it to. Okay.
No, I can look now.
Oh, not yet. I'm going to show it to everybody.
Because I've seen you.
You've
and
seen me.
I did my little energy diagnosis.
Okay, well, I'm going to see what she thinks when we first walked in the studio together. All of that coming up with Dr. Erin Shannon when we return.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
So it's October 7th. You look at the calendar and you say, all right, I see it. Summer is over. Fall's here. Some of you still have your pool open. We literally just closed ours. I should say we. We shouldn't say we. He closed the pool because I was crazy busy getting ready for the 400th show. So thank you, honey, for closing our pool. I wish it was still open because I hate when the cover's on. You can't look at the beauty of the water, which I'm so drawn to. It speaks to me. That clarity of mind comes from just the beauty of that. I was born in the water sign, so I am a Pisces, and that speaks to me. That right there, the water feature, you could have that added on to your current pool if you want, or if you're going to have one built for yourself, start thinking about those because that is really popular. The fire, the water features, the steps that maybe you want to add on to the one that you currently have. This is the time when you start thinking about next year or in years to come. Start saving up. If that is something you've always wanted for your family, Just Pools, the pool and spa specialist, can build that for you. In ground, above ground. They also have right now the winterizing kit. So if you have not closed yours yet, and some people leave it open well until October, even early November, get the winterizing kits, 10% off, and stock up so you're ahead of the game on all those fun toys. They're 50% off, and I stress, while they last. They are transitioning, though, to all the hot tubs or the spas. Just Pools, they are located at 3987 West Outer Road South in Arnold. Give them a call, tell Madonna hi, and thanks for being a part of our show. 636-464-7110. 7:51. Welcome back. I'm your host, Monica Adams. My guest, the wonderful Dr. Erin Shannon. If you go to her webpage, you see all of the about her. We're going to look at her website and show you some of the services that you provide. What would you say is the biggest thing that the patients come to you for?
Oh man, it's all over the board. I mean, people come, they'll come for an injury, they'll come from something nagging, but a lot of times it blends very quickly into how does that fit in your, in your daily life, your mindset. Mm-hmm. How does that impact your mood? I think mind and body, there's no such thing as a differential. I mean, we understand at this point that every thought we think gives us a chemical release, mm-hmm. right? And everything is made up of chemicals, and we react to chemicals. And it's how do you say mind is here and body is there?
Right.
Every diagnosis impacts your mental health. Mm-hmm.
And you just saw the list, and there's several. We also mentioned just how many certifications you have, but there's the disciplines: sports psychology, women's health and men's health, trauma debriefing, pain disorders, resolution. This is a big one of early life issues. So Dr. Shannon and I would share on that. I've been a life coach for 25 years, and one of the things I do regularly with them has to do with timeline therapy, right? Where are you stuck? You see that a lot, impacting your performance in day-to-day life or sports, stress management, relaxation, visualization, self-talk, and hypnosis. So many disciplines, and you can see her services, and her rates are on her website as well, DrErinShannon.com. Go to that so you can find out more. I also love the fact that you do like more couples therapy. You see people being brought in together and trying to help them come back to the unit together, the family unit together.
System, yeah.
Yes. DrErinShannon.com. There you go. And 314-370-9647. All right. I promised to do this. So, Zach, do you have that slide that Dr. Lehman had given me from the MRI, the breakdown of this, of what in fact happened? He doesn't have, he doesn't. Okay, never mind. So he said from when it was done, well, I had one done 3 years ago. Then I had another about 9 or 10 months ago. And then he just did another one about a week ago. And he's like, there's a huge difference, Monica. So what I'm trying to figure out, the actual accident happened 3 years ago, but he's seeing a big difference from the one 9 or 10 months ago to now, which it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what happened. He doesn't know. I'd be interested to see what you think would have caused this. But so from the cervical area, it's C6 and C7 that we're seeing the problems with. He wants you and I to work together, but he wants us to do Bimini. So tell everybody what Bimini is.
So Bimini is one of the technologies that I have found to be, this is probably the most impactful technology that I have seen. And what I love about it is that there's no side effects, there's no medicine, it's water and oxygen, and that's it. So it's, besides drowning, there's really no negative side effects that you can, don't bring the toaster oven into the bathtub with you. But other than that, so Bimini uses nanotechnology, and this technology was first developed and used to clean dirty water, make it into either drinking water or sterile water.
Okay.
And so and look, I'm not a nanoscientist. I'm going to talk about this in very general terms. Yes. Bimini's technology takes oxygen bubbles and makes them so teeny tiny that they're in and we're talking microns. So, again, I don't know what that even looks like. We can't see it. If every pore on your skin is 40 to 50 microns, Bimini is less than 1 micron.
Okay.
So what that means is that you put this, and it really is just like a little box with 2 tubes. Yep. There you go, 2 tubes. And you put it into any body of water. A bathtub, if you get the bigger, there's Kyrie. If you dunking when he's
when he's feeling good.
Yep. After his Bimini.
Right.
You put the pipes into the tubes into the bath, hot tub, pool, whatever. Okay. And you let it run for 20 minutes maybe.
Okay.
And when I say let it run, what is it doing? It's taking water from the, say, bathtub, right? Pulling it into the machine, infusing it with the oxygen bubbles, and then putting it back out. And it doesn't make it look like a hot tub.
Okay.
No, it doesn't look like that because the bubbles are so small you can barely see them, right? So the water's not all. And it doesn't matter what the temperature is, and there's nothing else in the water.
You're taking all my questions. That's
Yep,
what I want to know.
that's
Does it
what
have to
I'm
be
trying to
hot
do.
tub? Does it have to be cold?
Doesn't matter.
And no more than 20 minutes?
No. Well, that's just to prime the water.
Okay, but how long are you in
And then
it?
it continues to pump the water. We have seen, and we're evolving, we've seen that the results seem to, at 40 minutes, be great.
Okay.
They don't go down from there. But we've also found that even just putting your feet in the water, and there are many reasons why this makes sense, helps the entire body, okay? Because you're infusing with oxygen. Now, what other therapies use oxygen? Well, you think of hyperbaric, right? Hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Hyperbaric oxygen chamber is something that it's great, it's amazing, it's life-saving sometimes, but not everybody can do it. And there are side effects.
What are they?
You can burst your lung. You can burst an eardrum. It's pressurized. So it's forcing oxygen in. Bimini is allowing your body to take in as much as it wants, but your body's in charge of it. We're not forcing it into your lungs. We're not forcing it into. So, again, it is very safe. It is non-invasive, and it is extraordinarily impactful. You can feel the difference. I send my patients into the Bimini with a pen and paper, and I don't tell them why. And this will be a controversial statement, so here we go. We've got, in the NFL, okay, we've got guys that are coming up with, and when they die, they're seeing their brains that look horrible, right? And they're calling it CTE.
Right.
And they're saying that we can't diagnose it prior to postmortem. So we can't fully diagnose it until we cut your brain open and see it.
Yeah.
What I see I'm being careful how I say this, what I see in my clients that have had multiple subclinical and clinical concussions, I see them getting in the tub, and what we're doing in the tub with this oxygenation is we're trying to decrease inflammation systemically, which makes sense. There's oxygen in, inflammation down, okay? Every disease is either caused by inflammation or it causes inflammation, right? So they get into the Bimini, and about 20 to 40 minutes, they start to clear up. say this, I'm using their words, okay? I start thinking better.
From the fog. And trust me, I understand this because I understand the concussions. This is probably the biggest I've had, but the third in my life. So you're saying that fog we feel, the cobwebs that are up in here, they don't feel as soon as they get out?
They're in the bath and they're feeling
While
it.
they're
That's
in
why
it.
I send them in with a pen and paper.
Oh.
Here's the now. How would that happen? Well, we've got something called the blood-brain barrier, but the blood-brain barrier it's amazing at what it can do. Keeping out things that shouldn't be in, but allowing certain things in. Not much gets through that sucker, right? But we do know in trauma that gets a little bit diffuse, that blood-brain barrier. So how small these air bubbles are, they can get through. And so we're oxygenating the brain and we're decreasing the inflammation in the brain. And we've measured the cerebral oxygen is up. Now, you take somebody and you give them a little bit of lack of oxygen in the brain, you're going to see even a little bit right away, the impact of that. Give them a little bit that they didn't have before, whoa. And what what literally brings me to tears is I get their wives calling me after a few sessions and saying, he's back. His personality's back.
Wow.
Like, he's not flying off the handle at everything. He's not. And when you got disorders that have occurred over a long period of time, they kind of sneak up on you. You don't even remember. It's like, when I take my glasses off, I think I see pretty good. But then when I put them on, I'm like, whoa.
What a great analogy.
I didn't see very good.
It's HD
They
suddenly.
did not know how far they had gone, personality-wise, anger-wise, just depression. They didn't realize it because it's been with them for 20, 30 years.
What is the movie with Will Smith? I can't remember what it's called. It's called Concussion? Yeah. So if you haven't seen that, you need to. It's such a wake-up call. And for anybody that's been through it, again, whether you were an athlete or are an athlete or you were in an accident, there's some type of trauma, and you get this aha moment. There's also a book that someone told me about. I think it's called The Ghost in Your Head, that I was told is supposed to be really powerful, that I need to read as well. Jerry says, does Dr. Erin consider herself to be a medical intuitive? Do you read energy of your client? This is more Eastern medicine category.
Yep. Great. I'm on camera too. So Dr. Shannon is still trying to become comfortable with
saying that,
with saying a lot of things. Like here's the thing. I feel like my role that I can play is to help make it less of a divide between Eastern and Western, because it really doesn't have to be. Like I said, we're speaking the same language. There's so many things that when someone says them, you get this polarizing kind of image. So, I do try to wear the doctor coat or the scrubs. I do try to talk in language that, I don't want to look at energy medicine and only see people that wear crystals and are dancing under the moonlight and, doing incantations. I'm trying to make it normal because it is normal.
It absolutely is. And this is the thing. And I do believe, to go back to the beginning of our show, when you said it has evolved so much over the years, even if we go back the last 4 years, people are more aware now. This is centuries and centuries old things that we're talking about that have been used. Again, you go into another country, they're not going to treat you the way you're treated here from a Western side. And I don't want, here, I'm just going to use my own career. So 3 decades worth, Dr. Shannon, of us doing interviews with doctors upon doctors. I'm friends with so many throughout the area. We would turn the cameras off or shut the microphone down. Another 30 to 45 minutes would go on of us talking show after the show, where I would say, why can't you say, you just said it, oh great, here I am on camera. But here we are 30 years later. They would say, Monica, it's true, but I just can't go. I would be the laughing stock. And I was like, or the leader. I always said, or the leader, right? Yeah. I was going into medicine and I thought maybe God shifted my path to do this, to be the speaking voice of it. But I love the fact that here you are in the role that I thought if I would have gone into medicine, I would have been one of the doctors to say, bring it, both sides, and let me bring that to the world, which is what you're doing, which is why I connect with you so much. I think and believe that more of you will understand the Eastern-Western side has to be together. But Jerry said, having worked with energy, I recognize this part of you.
Jerry. Killing me, bro. You know what? Here's the thing. What we call intuition,
Yeah.
okay, is if we look at the brain and we store in our brain so many billions of bits of information that we don't have conscious access to. So if I'm going to say I'm a medical intuitive, right? And that's somebody that knows what's wrong with you, but doesn't maybe quite know how they know, or they're diagnosing you in ways that are different than what we see in a very linear, materialistic way. Okay. Yeah. So how do you define intuitive, right? Now, I would say growing up in the world of professional sports, it allowed me to be very normalized to intuition. But again, being from the Midwest and being, this is literally the show me state, there's a way that you can talk about it that people can understand. But I'll tell you the two groups of people that understand that this kind of energy and intuition the most, athletes and doctors in a way, but also kids, animals.
I was just going to say kids and animals.
That don't, people that rely on things and their survival and don't necessarily have to explain why or how, right? Some of the best athletes in the world are terrible coaches because they can't explain, you just know. No, I don't know. Okay.
You got to explain it. You got to show me.
There's a fun story about my dad and my uncle Stan. Stan Musial was my dad said, Stan, how do you hit so good in some certain stadium? He was trying to figure it out. Like, I hate this stadium. I can't hit here. And he's like, well, when I'm looking at the lanes, my dad said, the lanes? He goes, the lanes. So my dad goes behind him in the batting cages. And he's looking. Stan, I don't see any lanes. So what was Stan talking about? Well, he had the ability to see the flow of the energy or the energy of the spin of the ball. My dad didn't have that. My dad had other things that, I always do this when I think
tangible.
Yeah. He could go down in every single year. This is after he played. I came after he was done playing. So he would go down into the clubhouse before the season would begin. And he'd just sit there for about 10 minutes. And he'd kind of like get the feel, the smell, whatever you want to. He'd come up and I'd always say, well, what do you think? He'd go, no chance. If whatever he got from that was, nah, they don't have it.
Interesting.
And come back up and he goes, we got a chance. And he was never wrong. What is that? And is that some magical, mystical thing? I would say no. I would say it's a million little finite things that he has somewhere in his amazing brain kind of grouped together as got a chance. No chance. Right? And so every doctor that practices over the course of his career has these intangibles, and they're all click, 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 click coming online. Yeah. Some conscious, some not conscious. Sure. Some are explainable, some aren't explainable.
And I'm sure they're going through that every millimeter of a second to say, let's do this. This isn't working. Let's switch to this.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, you want a doctor that does that. When you come in and they're chit-chatting with you, they're not just chit-chatting with you. They're looking at the way your eyes are, the way you're responding, how you're sitting. Do you have ataxia? Do you have apraxia? Right? They're doing all of that and going, well, how are the kids?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
This is what I'm doing at cocktail parties. Cocktail parties are, I'm like, what they're talking to me? Oh. But we've found that everybody's brain works differently and processes differently, but we know everyone is processing a million billion times more than they're aware that they're processing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So my brain is a little bit interesting, and I learned this from brain imaging. I've got something called synesthesia, which is a neurological, they don't call it a disorder, but what synesthesia means is the blending of senses. So I'm someone that can, you've heard of people that can, when they listen to music, they see colors.
Yes.
Okay. That's a form of synesthesia. Certain people will, look at words, and each word has a taste or sound, or letters have a color. So I've got that.
So she's just put a definition to things that I have that people don't understand. I was at a retreat that I held, and I'm the only one that, and the woman literally started crying when I told her this, and she said, I love you. You have no idea the human being that you are. And I said, why? She goes, because you literally were able to be taken there. So I closed my eyes as she was doing sound therapy and saw all these colors and literally told her I saw the face of God. And it freaked me out, and I started to cry.
Of course.
And thought, and literally was trying to catch my breath going, did they all see this? And she goes, no, Monica, that's a smaller percentage that will go there. But from an energy work standpoint, and you think, again, this is a whole other show that Dr. Shannon and I could do together, but from an energy standpoint, when people start to understand it and they start to say, was this going to make sense to you? I see color red. I see color purple. So I will say that to people and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but these are the colors I see.
Well,
so what is it called again?
Synesthesia.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I got synesthesia.
Yep. Welcome to the club. Jerry, you want to... So
we're fun at a party.
Oh, yeah. Lots of fun. And honestly, it's one of the coolest things to do is to really delve into the world of perception.
Yeah.
And again, Western medicine is catching up with what Eastern medicine and maybe spirituality has known for a long time. There's no such thing as reality. Okay, this table looks solid. It's not, right? There's more space than there is solid structure when you look down to the atomic level. How do I know what blue looks like to you?
Right.
People don't realize that they have synesthesia until they kind of stumble into it. I didn't know it until I was in my 20s for sure. Because the only brain I have is mine. The only set of eyes I have is mine, right? When they say walk in somebody's shoes, you really can't.
Right.
I can have you explain what you think blue is.
Yeah.
But I will never know what your
level of blue is. Right.
And so if we can allow ourselves to really understand that there's no such thing as reality, that it's all perception, and perception, great news is
Perception is reality.
Perceptions can change.
Right?
And if we all understood that fundamentally, don't you think a lot of the problems and fighting and confusion and pain and hurt that people experience would be dissolved?
Yes.
Because whatever your opinion is, that's your opinion. I think part of what I do in psychology is to understand and to follow that strand of how did that person get to that perception? But what we'd like to do is, if say somebody has done terrible things, okay, a serial killer, some very horrific, we don't want to believe that as a human being, that is something that we could do too. We don't want to believe that. So we want to create distance, right? And cognitive dissonance. Well, they're a monster. They're evil. They're this, they're that. I would say that if I was born with that set of neurochemicals and to that mother that was feeling those ways when she was growing my brain in her tummy, and I had the life experiences just like that person did, I'd have done the same thing. And that's a horrible thing to think, that we're all walking around with the
that
ability.
possibility. Yeah.
But it's true.
It is. And one of the things that she digs into, and from an energy side, that you'll hear a lot of people that work in that realm will say, well, what you're feeling right now, it's this thought process that you have right now. That doesn't mean that it's going to be that way a second from now. It doesn't mean it's going to be that way a day, week, month from now. It doesn't mean that it was that way 10 years ago, but it is, well, this is what I'm feeling right here and right now. And this is how I'm going to treat it right here and right now.
And truthfully, that's the point of impact right here and right now. That's really the only thing that exists is right here and right now. But right here and right now has been built upon all of those here and nows from the past, and then our thought or belief about all of the here and nows in the future, right? None of the past and the future don't exist, but they do impact the now.
Sure.
The coolest part about all of this is when you think about all of this, it can feel overwhelming because you feel like I don't have control of anything. But you have control of everything, because when your perception is your reality, that's everything. Like you talk about how you're feeling right now. Sometimes how you're feeling right now negates a billion other things that are going on, and it's overwhelming. It's all you can feel. Yeah. It's all you can hold. But that energy is what you work with to change. If you don't like your life and you keep looking at the things in your life that you don't like, I have to pay my taxes. I hate this. There's never enough money. There's no, the news is all negative. The things you focus on, you're going to increase you're going to focus on the negative. You're going to scan the environment for negative. And what's going to happen? All of a sudden, that's all you're going to see is negative. And there could be a million positive things in front of you. You're not seeing them.
Yeah, you will not see them.
Because your amygdala is focusing you on negative, 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 right? And so there's no such thing as reality, but your perception creates your reality. And your reality is the only one you have access to. Right?
Speaks my language, folks, right? This is why
you can shift that.
You can shift. And there's the word, right? That is the word that we all use in this industry because people have that, don't say the word change. So we use shift. It's much easier on you to say, all right, I'm open-minded. I'll listen to that. Jerry said, it's all an illusion. I love this. You're speaking my language. Diane said, so enlightening. Yeah, I'm going to put it up again. We could go on for hours, and I could feel that. We've got to do this over and over and over again.
Yeah.
DrErinShannon.com. I want you to go to her website, 314-370-9647. And again, so many services that she can provide and has provided for decades to our area, to our athletes. Again, if you want to know why the Cardinals shifted around, why the Blues shifted around, why others, trust me, she had a role in that, which is why we used to bring her on so much on Fox. I always wrap up with a devotional. So let's ask this. What are you feeling that our audience needs to hear? 100 Days to Freedom, these books that we have from Stephen Arterburn. 100 Days to Freedom from shame, depression, anger, or fear and anxiety. Which one are you feeling?
I'm picking.
Yes.
Like, which one am I feeling? I'm going to go with, I think, fear, just because that, I think, that's the real root cause of so much pain.
It is. And I will tell you, of all the guests, that's the one they have a tendency to pick a lot. And I just think it overwhelmingly in our world, there's so much of it. And we're trying to break you from that. So that's what these books are about. 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. That's how we'll wrap up the show when we return. Everyone knows about Jody's balls, and why is that?
I have the best ball. Oh my
God. Oh, wait. All right, folks. Yes, a lot of you are saying, can she come back? Well, we're going to be talking about that. We would love that. I knew that this would be powerful and that we would go well past 8 o'clock because it's needed. And one of the things that Dr. Shannon was just saying to me at the break is, Monica, this is what we need more in the world. I know. That's why I left, because, again, waking you up every morning, telling you about the horrific things going on in the world is not serving you. In fact, she'll agree with this from a psychological standpoint, it sets you up for failure if you allow it. Yes, you can shift your mindset and say, I'm not going to let the people telling me these horrific stories to change my day, but it's in you. It seeps into you. It's your choice to say, all right, I've got to change this. I have to shift this. How am I going to make things better? I used to always talk about this when I do my motivational speaking, that how much power do you give to someone else, right? The people on the radio, the people on TV, the billboards you're seeing, somebody cutting you off in traffic, your boss, your colleagues, your spouse, your children. I could go on and on and on. It's all back to you. How do you pull it back together? So we're trying to give you freedom from a lot of things that affect you. These books that a lot of people have been asking about, you can get these online. I got them at the Crossing, at the library at the Crossing in Chesterfield. That's where we picked them up. 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. That's the one that Dr. Shannon picked. This is Stephen Arterburn's day 44, and it's called Gratitude Mindset. How do I ask you to end your day with gratitude before you close your eyes? The literal last thing that I ask you to do is to write something that you are grateful for, so you have a little better sleep, I hope, than the night before. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His faithful love endures forever. That's Psalm 136, verse 1. I'm sure you've heard that one before. We are created with powerful minds. Imagine all the things that have been discovered, created, developed through the great minds of mere humans. But powerful imaginations also can create really bad things that breed fear, worry, and distress, which we've been talking about. The world's full of things that are not beneficial for your heart and your mind. When we are overexposed to negativity, we begin to feel the effects in ways we may not even realize. You cannot live in a bubble where nothing goes wrong, but you can choose what you expose yourself to on a regular basis. She literally just said this. If you want to experience peace and calm, watching a scary movie or reading a murder mystery novel probably isn't the best choice. A lot of you are doing it right now because we're coming up against Halloween. Instead, you might want to watch something that isn't designed to make you jump out of your seat. Being selective about what you take into your mind can create peace and a calm mind. When our fears and our anxieties threaten to occupy our minds, gratitude's a great way to fill it with the opposite thought. Psalm 136 is a list of the blessings that the writer is focusing on, along with the refrain, his faithful love endures forever. God is faithful. He will provide for our needs. This is something that we can be grateful for. Meditate. We didn't even get into that. We need to do that on another session because I love meditation and clarity of mind. And meditate. Fill your mind with the words of this psalm. Begin to discover the power of a calm, peaceful mind. Chuck Swindoll said, when we have our God in clear focus, his powerful presence eclipses our fears. Nothing done with the focus on God is ever a waste of time. Think about these things. I want to take my focus off myself. It's like setting your spiritual compass so no matter which way you turn during the day, whatever comes up, then thoughts go back to him and whatever he said that morning. So here's today's prayer. Lord, I am so grateful for your presence in my life. Help me as I make choices about what I allow to fill my thoughts. You are worthy of praise. Amen to that. This is what's funny, Dr. Shannon. I never know what someone's going to pick, and it always has to do with what our topic was. I just think it's the most amazing thing, and here we are talking about the minds and psychology and how we can have these shifting patterns, and this is the one you choose.
It's quantum entanglement, right?
I
mean, there's so many things now in science that we can point to that make sense of things that used to feel like in that psychic realm, right? But there's scientific explanations for almost everything.
Fascinating. It is. Isn't she great? So this one, by the way, will turn very quickly into our audio podcast. So we do an audio podcast that we drop on Thursdays at 8 a.m. I met a bunch of you over the weekend that said, I just found, actually yesterday, we had a big Fox 2 reunion. I loved seeing all these guys that I used to work with behind the scenes. We went to this annual fish fry, and they were like, yeah, I was looking on podcasts, and there you were. And that's what you're doing. I'm like, oh, no. That's something we do on top of this talk show. So on Thursdays at 8 a.m., if you are not listening yet, do so, because now you need to take this that we just did today, that you watched. Then the senses change when you're only listening, right? She's shaking her head at that. So it's a whole thing. And sometimes you need to hear it over and over and over again. You see it and you hear it, and then it connects with you. So please do so. We'll get that one probably next week, because I think we're working on one already for this Thursday, but we'll get that one in play for you next week. So be sure to follow that. So good to see you again.
Great to see you.
We're going to talk about doing this maybe on a regular basis because I knew you all would love her. So do us a favor, if they didn't get a chance to watch live, I know that a lot of people are rushing off to work, be sure to share this on your own page so that everybody can see this. And follow Dr. Shannon online. DrErinShannon.com is her website. Are you on socials, and what's the best?
Oh boy, I don't.
All
even,
of them?
Somebody
take care of those for you, or
no?
No,
Oh, no.
you're on
It's
there.
me.
It's
Oh,
her. It's the real Dr.
It's
Shannon.
me. It's me. Yeah, I think I'd probably post on Instagram the most.
Okay.
But then I try to feed it to the other ones.
The beautiful thing is Meta allows the Instagram and Facebook working hand in hand. So be sure to follow her online as well if you have any questions for her. I'll let you know when she's going to be coming back on so that we can load up the questions and do more of a Q&A. But thank you again so much. Thank you. And to you, remember the way we end every show is to go out and believe in yourself. Be anything you want to be in this world, but before you're anything, the one beautiful thing that you can do is to be kind. God bless you all.